last class, we talked about making sort of like a template for your label. And I might label this template. I try not to mess with this just because it's sort of, I'm going to end up going back to it quite a bit. So I'm just going to create a layer here and just to sort of show you some things that can quickly design an interesting label. So I'll use my magic wand tool, and I'm just going to sort of go in here, and I will select my template. Then I'll switch to my top layer here, and then in Photoshop, up at the top, there's a thing called select, and it allows you to modify. If you go select, it's all of these different controls for modifying your selection. I know you can't see the drop-down menu, but there's something called select modify. And I'm just going to go modify, and I'm going to change my border. And so I'm going to change that selection into basically like a river. I'm just going to change it to a border. So, and then it gives me my width of my river, and I'm just going to say 8. And so you can see how now this selection has turned from just one line into a river. And so that becomes useful because I may turn around like this and fill this in. And you can also modify your feather. So I can go to select modify feather. And I know you can't see that drop down error or that drop down window, but it allows you to reduce or increase your feather after your selection has been made. Now, if I drop this in here, as far as labels go, this ends up being a little bit too fuzzy. But if I continue to hit my bucket, it'll fill that in. I can keep a little bit of that aliasing for printing in order to get kind of like a semi-smooth edge. So now that's given me an edge, and I can put this on green. I can call it green border. Now I can add another layer here and go back to my template, and I will select that black. Notice that the border here, sorry, oops, I got too many zoom tools. The border is now in the middle of that. The selection's in the middle. Why? Because I'm selecting this black piece back here. And that's going to give us a nice clean edge when I go up to my next layer here. I'll switch this to white and go like that. So now we've got this white label, and the white goes underneath that green, so we don't have to worry about any sort of gaps or anything like that. From there, I can switch to some text, and you know, in the case of mine, I'm sorry, I'm going to make sure that that text is black for me. And now what we learned is that this text, it is a little bit funner to work with the text in Illustrator, where you can do some very specific, nice vector-based customization. So I go all natural vinegar. That's what my label is going to be for, and maybe I'll put in a little image there. So how can we do these kind of border tricks in Pixlr? Well, I'm just going to switch over to that. And here we are in Pixlr. Same idea. I've got my template at the bottom here, and I'm going to call it template. Slightly different controls than in Photoshop, but we can do very similar things. So if I hit this 3 little buttons here, see if I can. Actually, what I'm going to do is just going to add a empty layer on top. So I can grab this And again, magic wand is going to give me my selection. I'm just going to close some advertisements here. Gives me my selection. So now I can go up to this layer here, and I will paint bucket my selection in white there. And then I can deselect it. Now, when I go to my pointer tool, I can go to edit stroke, and it says outline only. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do the outline, and I'm going to make my stroke. I'll make it bright red, and something like that. Say apply. So now we've got our outline. I can again add another layer, and again, I'm just go back to my template here, and I'm going to grab my bottom layer. Now this one is is not as because it's right to the edge. We have this problem where if things don't quite match up, we might have some bleed through. So there's a way around that, but I'm just going to select that, and I'm going to go up to my top layer, and I'll fill that like this. Now I'll deselect, and I'm going to grab that object, which is, I'm just going to turn that bottom layer off, turn that off, or turn it on. So I've selected this white label here, and again, I can go edit stroke, and you see with this now, it's underneath. I can expand my stroke so that it's actually giving me this sort of like double stroke layer here. Or if I pull it back just a little bit, then I know for sure it's going to overlap there. And so instead of doing outline only this time, I'm gonna keep the outline and the fill. So I actually like this sort of process like that. It's just apply. So now I've built sort of like the beginning of my label. And next, what I'm going to do is show you a few of the options with regards to how do we download some like a nutrition label generator. So over here on this little piece here, we can copy this, and this is a nutrition label generator. And I'll go to one of my windows here. And it's like, okay, well, which nutrition label generator would you like to use? And I'll just use the most basic one here, and we can fill this out. And we go servings per container, 30. Serving size 30 grams. The quantity, maybe there's 15, and the units would be in grams. Oh, actually, maybe there's 1,500. Calories, put some calories in there. Total fat. I'm just going to put some numbers so you guys can see how this generates a label. And then I say generate. For this, the little pop-up, you just X out of it. Don't worry about it. And then here is your label. And so you can see that it's dropped all those numbers that I had in there. It's got lots of calories. Download the image. And then we will import it into our, just see if there's a, yeah, it looks like it worked much better downloading it as a PDF. This download PDF button. So if I come back to my photo editor and I go file, or I go file, open image. I go to my downloads, and I'm just going to grab my nutrition label. And can I drag that over here? Yes, I can. There we go. So there's adding nutrition labels. Okay, if you're going to go for barcode generator, now actual barcode numbers are things that you sort of you have to sort of set up an account and register. But if you go to here and you actually just put in these numbers, now you could if you find a barcode, you can put those barcode numbers in, and it will generate the barcode for you. And again, download as a PDF, download this barcode, and then I'll come here and gonna raise this up here, and I will go file, open image. There's my barcode. I'm just gonna drag it over to here and drop it in, and I should be able to. Oh, if I hold down Shift, hang on a second here. Yeah, I can make it whatever size I want. So there's your barcode and some nutrition facts for a rear label for your product. So same thing in Photoshop, same thing in Illustrator with regards to bringing in those images, and a few sort of stroke tricks in our raster-based projects. Is there any questions? Stop recording here.